think it's tomorrow.
12-1.
Chapter 12. Yeah, the laws of slaughtering, to make things holy that you can eat. When a person slaughters an animal and its offspring on the same day, the meat is permitted to be eaten. What does that mean? You're not allowed to slaughter a mother and its offspring on the same day, right? The slaughter, however, was punished by lashes, right? Why? Because you transgressed and you slaughtered. The Torah says, not to do that. It says, as the verse says, slaughter is punished by lashes. The verse says, do not slaughter an ox or a sheep and its offspring on one day. But the receives lashes only for slaughtering the second animal, not for the first animal, right? Accordingly, if one person slaughtered one of such a pair, and another person slaughtered the second, the one who slaughtered the second receives lashes. Got it? And let Liba inside. Thank you. The prohibition against slaughtering an animal and its offspring applies in all times and all places.
Sure.
Yeah. Hold on one second.
Blacks wouldn't do that. But it's still permissible to eat.
What?
But you still eat it.
But you can still eat it, yes. Prohibition against slaughtering an animal and its offspring applies in all times, all places. With regard to ordinary animals, sacrificial animals, with regard to the latter category, it applies with regard to the sacrifices in which we partake and which are with regard to sacrifices in which we do not partake. Therefore, if one slaughtered the first animal in the temple courtyard and the second outside of it, or the first in the temple outside the courtyard and the second inside, the one who slaughtered the second animal receives lashes for violating the prohibition against slaughtering the animal and its offspring. It doesn't matter whether it's a sacrifice or it's for personal use, right? This applies whether both are ordinary animals or both are sacrificial animals, and one is ordinary and one is sacrificial. Doesn't matter. Prohibition against slaughtering an animal and its offspring applies only with regard to the ritual slaughter. As the verse states, do not slaughter. Implied is that the prohibition involves the slaughter of both animals. If, however, one chopped off the head of one of them and became nevela in his hand, it is permitted to slaughter the other. In other words, it's about slaughtering both in the appropriate manner of slaughter.
Chop off the head, not kosher.
No, it's not. But we're not. It's not kosher to do that. Not kosher to do that. No, you can't eat it. That's not the point over here. The point is, are you transgressing this law? You did something else that's wrong, right? Actually, yeah.
Wow, but not liable. So the first one you did kosher, the second one you didn't do kosher, so he's not liable.
Right. If you slaughtered it and you found that it was treif, it was still a good slaughter, and therefore you can't slaughter the second one. But the first one, you didn't slaughter it. chopped off its head, not in a manner of slaughtering, right? So then the second one was the first to be slaughtered. So therefore, it's permitted. Similarly, if they slaughtered the first and chopped the head of the second, it became an avelet in the hand, he's not liable. You're not allowed to do that, right? We're talking about if you're going to get lashes, right? Because you're not allowed to do it, but you won't get lashes for it because specifically you get lashes for biblical law when you follow the exact biblical manner that it states to do it, right? When a deaf mute or intellectually and emotionally incapable person or a minor slaughtered the first animal privately, it is permitted to slaughter the second animal afterwards because the slaughter is not considered as slaughter. Right? It wasn't considered slaughter. One who slaughters the first animal, but the question arises whether it was an avela or not. It's forbidden to slaughter the second animal. Now, if the first one, you don't know if it was an avela, remember, an avela means it wasn't properly slaughtered, right? Not that it was unhealthy. Means unhealthy means you slaughtered it properly, but it was an unhealthy lung, for example.
Yeah.
No.
When you use the term slaughter, that means kosher.
Yes. It's forbidden to slaughter second animal, right? But here, since there's a question of whether it was slaughtered properly or not, the second one you can't slaughter, but if you did, you don't get lashes because you only get lashes if it's for certain a proper slaughter, right? Biblically. 6, slaughter which is for much is not fit to eat, nevertheless considered slaughter. Therefore, the person slaughtered an ordinary animal in the temple courtyard, and the one which is treif, an ox in them, and they're stoned. A calf whose neck is to be broken because of a murder. A red heifer, this week's Torah portion, or slaughtered for the sake of a false deity. A person who slaughters a second animal is liable. So in these instances, you're not allowed to slaughter, but you did slaughter. So the slaughter is considered a slaughter, and therefore the second animal you can't slaughter. Even though you may say, well, but this animal was condemned to be stoned, right? Like it was an animal that killed a human being, right? And there are witnesses and this and that, whatever. No, we're not talking about eating it. We're talking about, is it considered a slaughter? No, you can't eat it. That's for sure not. Not about that. The focus over here is the second slaughter considered something you're liable for? Which you are, because even though these are not to be slaughtered, these animals, but the slaughter is considered a slaughter. Right? So now we're talking about the object of the animal that's ought to be slaughtered. Similarly, if one slaughtered the first animal and another slaughtered the second animal, though it was an ordinary animal in the courtyard, an ox condemned or sown to be, and a calf whose neck is to be broken, the red heifer, the second person is liable for lashes. Same idea. Okay. 7. When the second animal is slaughtered for the sake of a false deity, the slaughter is not liable because the prohibition against slaughtering an animal and its offspring, for he is liable for capital punishment. So remember, you don't get 2 punishments, right? For the same act. So this act that you slaughtered for the sake of a false deity, you're liable for capital punishment. I mean, there's 2 witnesses. Because there could be 2 witnesses that forewarn the person, if you do this, you're going to get capital punishment. Therefore, even though there were 2 witnesses, but since you could have been liable for capital punishment, you're not liable for the lesser degree, which is lashes, for slaughtering the second, the offspring or the mother. All right. I hope that was clear. If, however, he was given a warning for the prohibition against slaughtering the animal and its offspring, and was not given a warning for the false worship of deities, he receives lashes. But if he were given a warning not to slaughter the mother and its offspring, but not for the warning for the false deities, then you would get lashes. Because if you weren't given for the false deities, in the end, even though it's a possibility, but in fact, weren't given the warning, and in fact, you were given the warning for the mother and its offspring. So therefore, for that, you would get lashes. Huh? Warning is with witnesses. Warning means witnesses. Yes. That's what it always means in the case of a punishment that you're liable for something, right? 8. The prohibition against slaughtering an animal and its offspring applies only with regard to a kosher domesticated animal. This is derived from the exegesis of in the verses, do not slaughter an ox or a sheep and its offspring in one day. The prohibition does apply with regard to a hybrid species. What is implied? A male deer mates with a female goat, and one slaughters the goat and its offspring, one is liable. If, however, a male goat mates with a female deer, one slaughters the deer and its offspring, it is forbidden to slaughter the deer and its offspring. If one slaughters them, however, one's not liable for lashes. And out of the Torah forbid slaughtering a cow and its offspring, and not a deer and its offspring. Deers are kosher. Yes, deers are kosher. Yeah. Um, so since the verse didn't speak about a deer, it only spoke about a cow and it spoke about um, a goat. So therefore, only when there is a hybrid between them would that apply
Wow.
for receiving lashes. You're not allowed to do it, but you don't get lashes. Or deer sheep. I mean, goat sheep. If the offspring of this deer was a female and it gave birth to an offspring, one is liable for the lashes should he slaughter the female offspring of the deer and its offspring on the same day. Right. So the grandchild and the daughter, you would be liable for. Same with hybrid, right? We're talking about because it's no longer from the hybrid, right? It's coming from this. It was a hybrid initially, but now it's not. Similarly, a hybrid species is produced by mating a sheep and a goat, regardless of which male and which is female. The slaughter will be held liable for lashes, violating the prohibition against slaughtering the animal and its offspring. Sheep and goat are like come together. It is permitted to slaughter a pregnant animal. The fetus is considered as a limb of its mother, right? It's not considered as its offspring. It's a limb because she's only pregnant with it. If the fetus emerged alive after the slaughter of its mother and stepped on the ground, one should not slaughter it on the same day. And if one did, one's not liable for lashes. Because even though you shouldn't slaughter it, because it is the offspring, but when you slaughtered the mother, it wasn't an offspring. It was a fetus. But now it was full term, right? It was full term. And therefore it stepped on the ground, which is just showing the fact that it's got life, that it's got its own independent life. You shouldn't slaughter it on the same day. But if you did, you're not liable because when you slaughtered it, it didn't have a definition of offspring, it had a definition of fetus. And fetus is considered like a limb of the mother. Okay. Number 11. The prohibition against slaughtering an animal and its offspring applies whether regard to a mother or the offspring is certainly its own. If one knows with certainty that the male fathered offspring, The two should not be slaughtered on the same day. If one slaughtered them together, however, one's not liable for lashes, but there's a doubt whether or not the prohibition applies with regard to males. So we're not certain if the prohibition is of the father with the offspring. You shouldn't do it because there's a doubt. If you did, you don't get lashes.
Compared to a mother.
Right. Well, mother, yeah. When a person slaughters a cow and after it slaughters two of its offsprings, he is liable for two sets of lashes. Psh. Why? It violates the prohibition twice, right? You violate the prohibition twice, exactly. If he slaughters several of the offsprings and then it, right? So first he did the offsprings, which the offsprings he could do all of them, 10 offsprings. He could slaughter them all. Why? Because it's offsprings with offsprings. There's no violation there, right? But then he slaughtered the mother, right? Then he's liable for one set of lashes because he only, in the second slaughtering, he only violates once. Got right? So he slaughtered it. If he slaughtered it, its female offspring, and the offspring of its offspring is over two sets of lashes, right? Because you got the grandmother, the mother, and the granddaughter or grandchild, right? In the animal world, right? You'd be two sets of lashes because you did it twice. If you slaughtered it and the offspring of its offspring and its female offspring, he's liable for only one set of lashes. Ah, if the grandmother and then the grandchild and then the daughter, right? He's only gets one set of lashes because there's no prohibition of slaughtering the grandmother and the grandchild together, right? But then the third one was the daughter. Well, but it's irrelevant. It's a mother because no, it is it is relevant because you did one act. You didn't do two acts. So in one act, you only get one lashing, right? When you slaughtered two offsprings, then it's two acts. So you get two sets of lashes. But here it's only one act that you did, right? That made you obligated for lashes. And therefore, whether it's because it's the daughter or it's the mother, it's only one act. It doesn't matter. You only get one set of lashes. Very fascinating. I hope you followed this. It's kind of there. You need an engineering mind for this. I see you have an engineering mind. Okay, right now you're an engineer. When two people each purchased an animal, one the mother and one the offspring, and they brought the matter for judgment. The one who purchased the animal first is allowed to slaughter it first. The other one should wait until the next day. If the second purchaser slaughtered the animal first, he gains, and the first one must wait until the next day. Right? In other words, he should have waited, but I mean, in other words, he's not, nothing's going to happen to him because he slaughtered first. It's only the second slaughter, right? As always. Okay. 4 times a year, it's necessary for a person who sells an animal to a colleague to inform him that he already sold the mother or the daughter of the animal to another person for the sake of slaughtering. So so that the latter purchaser will wait and not slaughter up until the next day. One of those 4 times, they are the day preceding a final holiday of Sukkot, right? Shmini Atzeres, the day before, the day preceding the holiday of Pesach, the day preceding Shavuos, the day preceding Rosh Hashanah. Why? Because people want to slaughter for the holiday. So if you sold both of them on that day, there's a good chance, the tremendous good chance that both of them are going to slaughter on the same day, and you're going to cause now someone to transgress. Can't do that. You're not allowed to cause someone to transgress. You say, well, that's their business. No, don't. You're not allowed to sell it then. Well, so when does the above apply? When he saw that the person who purchased it was anxious to buy it, and it was the end of the day, right? In which instance it can be presumed that he will slaughter it immediately because he's anxious. He's the holiday's coming and he needs this animal so he can celebrate the holiday properly. If, however, there was ample time during the day, he is not required to inform him, for perhaps he will not slaughter until the following day. Now, he's showing repose. That's the point. One who sells, another instance where what you can't do. One who sells the mother to the groom and the daughter to the bride, you must notify them. For certainly they will slaughter them both on the same day. Some of those are all the situations, right? Because they're doing it for their wedding, right? The groom bought the mother, right? The daughter was bought by the bride. Why they buy it? For their wedding. So they're going to slaughter on the same day in order to make the festive wedding celebration from that meat. So you can't sell it to them on the same day. Again, if you tell them, then you're okay. The point over here is that you didn't tell them. With regard to the term one day mentioned in context of the prohibition of slaughtering an animal and its offspring, the day follows the night. What is implied? Right. So the day follows the night, as like Shabbos or anything follows, right? That's what you. Huh? Analogous? I don't see that word. So what is implied? So let's see. He slaughtered the first animal in the beginning of Tuesday night. When's the beginning of Tuesday night? He may not slaughter the other one until the beginning of Wednesday night, right? Because Wednesday during the day is the same thing as Tuesday night. It's the third day. Or, sorry, I mean, it's the fourth day, right? Similarly, if he slaughtered at 1 at the close of Wednesday, now, problem is he did it by twilight time. So it's not exactly day or night. He may slaughter the other one the beginning of Wednesday night. So he has to wait until Wednesday night. If he slaughtered in the beginning of Wednesday evening, right? Wednesday night is the 5th day. He may not slaughter the second until the nightfall of Thursday. Right. If he slaughtered them during the Thursday, he does not receive lashes. But if he did it, he doesn't receive lashes. Why? Because it's a doubt. Because maybe we could say that was part of the day, not part of that following day, the previous day. Twilight has both. So therefore, since by doubt, remember we learned that we do not administer lashes when there's any kind of doubt. Okay. Thank you, folks.